We've now got live images coming from Rashtrapathi Bhavan, the cabinet expansion all set to begin. The new ministers in their new clothes. They've all been out shopping. Khan market has been busy. There you see MJ Akbar, Purushottam Rupala, Vijay Goyal, Ramdas Athavale turned out in their Sunday best, all set to become ministers. This is what they've been waiting for. They've been very upset. In particular, Ramdas Athavale has been upset that he wasn't made a minister, and it's a big moment, Nalini, for all these people to finally get an opportunity to become ministers.
Yeah, it's extremely interesting that you say it's Sunday best. It's actually Tuesday best for many of them. They've been to temples and everything. But Rahul, I must say to you that I'm looking for one particular promotion. If that happens, it's not the expansion but the reshuffle. Does Sanjeev Balyan become an MOS with independent charge? Because if that happens, that means that Uttar Pradesh is actually going along, trotting along exactly as the party wants it, and this expansion, and you know, when
they're very happy with the work he's done.
So if
far
Sanjeev
from
Balyan,
his public perception or his media perception or his supposed role in the Uttar Pradesh riots, he's emerged as a savior of sorts for the persecuted Hindu community. That's the way the BJP
so I think
sees
that's the promotion to watch, much more than I think the ones that have been named in the media, Piyush Goyal and Dharmendra Pradhan and
that's Hamid Ansari, India's vice president. Rajdeep, a big moment this for all those 19 ministers. MJ Akbar, a veteran of politics in the past, he's been in previous cabinets, now he's being brought in. Kalraj Mishra, he's crossed 75. There are a lot of calls coming in from Kalraj Mishra's office saying we haven't received any call yet. So don't run any story suggesting we are being dropped. He's also a Brahmin leader. They need Brahmin faces before the UP election. So despite being beyond 75, he sticks in for the time.
Satish Mishra has to be counted.
No, I mean, look at the way the flavor of the election is just so much towards the demography that they need. And UP election, remember, is not just about the Balyan and the Western UP. It's also about so much of the Awadh or the Bundelkhand or the Purvanchal. And I can see really a mix of all of
Arun
this.
Jaitley is not there. In those images right next to the Prime Minister, you've got Amit Shah flanking him, then Rajnath Singh, then Nitin Gadkari. Of course, meaning mustn't necessarily be read into that, but he's not just right next to the Prime Minister as he usually has been in the past. Nalini Singh is a political dynamic changing in some senses there. He's sitting next to the Vice President, nowhere close to where the PM is. He's sitting on the other side. That's Arun Jaitley.
Is that Arun Jaitley now?
But right next to where the Prime Minister is, you've got Amit Shah, you've got Rajnath Singh, you don't have a Jaitley there.
Yeah, I would say a little bit. The Prime Minister has got hold now of the suffocation of the Delhi Darbar. I think he's
Jaitley represents that Delhi Darbar for the BJP?
I would have thought that's what he, everybody has said, that he could negotiate, navigate the Prime Minister through Delhi Darbar. So I think the Prime Minister has found his own navigators now. And or it appears to be from this particular the fact that he's now elbowing other people out and saying, look,
Manish,
I know how to deal with
thought on Amit Shah and the increasing role he plays. Each time we have a conversation with Amit Shah, he's on the phone with the Prime Minister multiple times a day. He is playing a very important role in shaping how this cabinet reshuffle goes through. Clearly has the eyes and ears of the Prime Minister, and as Rajdeep was pointing out earlier, a lot of organizational changes being brought in at his behest.
Yes, so indeed, let's look at Mr. Modi. You know, he talks of governance himself, but he's indeed the political Prime Minister. He never loses an eye on any of the elections. I know Mr. Vijay Goyal, for example, you've been talking about of his belonging to one camp or the other. But remember, Delhi urban municipal elections are up on the cards in 2017. So look at the fact that here's a Prime Minister.
And whether they like it or not, he is by far the best leader they have on the ground.
Absolutely. So here's a Prime Minister who doesn't miss out on any opportunity at electioneering. Okay. You're looking at two in the frame. I'm looking at Rajnath, Amit Shah and the Prime Minister, and I see that as the perfect political frame for the moment.
That's the image of Pranab Mukherjee, India's president, arriving at a show call. Just for a moment, we'll lift the ambient audio from Rashtrapathi Bhavan as we see the president arrive in a moment from now. The cabinet expansion will begin. Prime Minister Modi flanked by his trusted lieutenant, his army commander Amit Shah, flanked also by Home Minister Rajnath Singh right behind him, the MOS in the PMO. Jitendra Singh, they of course have some sense. Several of these ministers, when we were speaking to them last night and even this morning, had no idea about what would happen to them. They said, we've been brought in, but we don't yet know. Let's listen to the national anthem.
माननीय राष्ट्रपति महोदय,
Zamita Paul now seeking permission from the President to begin the cabinet expansion. It will be interesting to see who comes in first, because some of these ministers are being brought in as full rank cabinet ministers, not just MOS independent charge. That's Prakash Javadekar being upgraded from Minister of State, independent charge, to a full-fledged cabinet minister.
मैं प्रकाश केशव जावड़ेकर ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात, अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार न्याय करूंगा। मैं प्रकाश केशव जावड़ेकर ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो, मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष रूप से संसूचित या प्रकट नहीं करूंगा।
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Ministers of State, Shri Phaggan Singh Kulaste.
मैं फग्गन सिंह कुलस्ते ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं।
This is Phaggan Singh Kulaste. His name came up in the cash for votes thing when he came into parliament carrying wads of currency, and he's been seen as being controversial, but now being brought in. He's been MP for more than 2 decades and finally being rewarded for his work in the party, Manish.
Yeah, it's also the scheduled tribe face of the party that believes now that that's one core chunk all over India that the party can take away from what was the erstwhile Congress Khajana. So Phaggan Singh Kulaste is coming in really an expansion of the BJP into a variety of scheduled tribe votes spread across the country, and therefore a very key electioneering strategy, an imprint of the party and core understanding of the party of how it needs to do a Congress Mukt Bharat in the long run.
And Sharad Pradhan, if the BJP over a period of time is able to woo the SC vote bank away from the Congress and into the BJP fold, it can fundamentally rework Indian politics, because you've got a big vote bank that for decades has been with the Congress. You take it away, it completely changes how elections are looked at from the outside.
You know, that could happen in states where BSP is not in existence. In Uttar Pradesh, where BSP is well entrenched, and as far as the Dalit vote is concerned, so it could make a, but you know, at the end of the day, Rahul, I feel it is not the end all, because ultimately it is not just one face belonging to a particular community making so much difference to the vote that it would spread send a message across the, it can send a message, but it can't make that much of a difference as we perceive it to be. You know, as times are changing and growing education and awareness, the voter does not, as I have seen in the past several elections, voter does not get completely influenced by the simple fact of by the caste factor. They also take into account a lot of other things. They see what their person has been able to deliver. I have seen it happening in UP with Dalits, you know, a section of the father in the same family, the father may vote for Mayawati, the son may not. Likewise with the Yadavs, the father is voting for Mulayam and the son questions, because this kind of questioning which is the kind which I would say is a part of the evolution of politics in the country.
Okay, this is SS Ahluwalia, the MP from Darjeeling, being brought in. He's seen very, very closely as being associated with Sushma Swaraj. Now he's being brought in. Of course, now when you're in Modi's team, you're in Modi's team. No other affiliation.
Why are you just looking at factionalism? Why don't you see him as a West Bengal member of parliament, and he as the ambassador to Mamata Banerjee on the GST? Remember, the BJP started off saying we are going to fight it all on our own, but went on the back foot, let Mamata Banerjee lead that state and let her win that state.
But I think
so in a sense, and his coming from Darjeeling, remember, it's that neck where the party is an uneasy, the Mamata party is in an uneasy alliance with that hill states. So his coming in really would give that hint that the party would be on the back foot in West Bengal and allow Mamata Banerjee an alliance with the GST.
He's also anchored in the Tarai in Uttar Pradesh, as well as, you know, I'm wondering how the Nepali speaking Gorkhalis in the northeast will be regarding a Sikh who's representing them now in the ministry, not only in parliament.
And remember, he's a Patna Sikh.
And he's a Patna Sikh.
And he's won a Lok Sabha election, so he's not a Rajya Sabha.
So I think he's a fifth
MP.
time. He's a fifth time.
He's
been
won
in
a Lok
parliament
Sabha election.
25 years.
He was elected to the Rajya Sabha in 1986. He's been in the Lok Sabha since 1992. So he has in the past, 95-96, served as Minister of State in the Ministry of Urban Affairs and Employment.
So here's somebody from Karnataka, is it?
So this is the next Minister of State being sworn in, the MP from Bijapur in Karnataka.
The sovereignty and the integrity of India, that I will be faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as a Minister of State for Union, and that I will do right to all manner of people in accordance with the Constitution and the law, without fear or favor, affection or ill will.
So Ramesh Chandappa is seen as an agriculturalist, musician, trader, industrialist. He was for 3 terms in the Karnataka Legislative Assembly, and one of the points that was put out in the government press release yesterday was that they're bringing in people who've served as ministers in state cabinets. So Ramesh Chandappa has served as Minister of State for Home in the government of Karnataka. In 83, he's been Minister of State for Excise in the government. In 96, he was Cabinet Minister of Social Welfare and Revenue in the government of Karnataka. So he's got strong experience in Karnataka politics, running governments, running ministries in Karnataka, now being brought in to the centre into Team Modi.
Shri Vijay Goyal.
Vijay Goyal from Delhi. He's got a big smile on his face, and it's after very long that Vijay Goyal has had something to smile about. He was chief of the party. He thought the party was doing well. Unceremoniously yanked out when Dr. Harshvardhan was brought in. He's been out in the doldrums. This is, in some senses, a political rehabilitation of sorts, and that is Arun Jaitley, the other leader from Delhi, and they don't necessarily get along very well.
But Arun Jaitley, being TV savvy, is making sure that he's got
smiling.
a smile on his face.
But remember, Vijay Goyal is the one, he and his family have been winning the election. Arun Jaitley
No, he's
has
a
been
very
winning
effective
elections.
political manager.
Now, from where in Delhi has Arun Jaitley been winning the elections? I mean, that's something I would want to know. Vijay Goyal is someone who has his hold still on.
Vijay Goyal suffers from a perceptional problem of sorts.
But he was a sports minister, wasn't he, in the cabinet?
He was, but
Vajpayee cabinet.
he's perceived as being, you know, just the perception around him is wrong, and that has been a problem for Vijay Goyal in the party, where he's always been shafted for some reason or the other, whether it is for Harshvardhan, whether it is later for a Kiran Bedi. He believes he's never had his due. He hasn't had the best of equations before this with both Amit Shah and Narendra Modi.
So
now he's being brought in.
I think you've got the answer in the question itself. Who brought in Kiran Bedi is a big question.
Right.
Between a Harshvardhan and a Vijay Goyal, I could still understand that both of them hold ground in Delhi. But who brought in Kiran Bedi is the big question. And I do think a strong eye on the Delhi urban elections, which is where Vijay Goyal would be very, very helpful.
No, because when he was, there you go, he's a past master at this. So he's been a minister in the past. He's very used to the Delhi Darbar. He, in some senses, is the Delhi Darbar they keep talking about. He's being brought in. That's Ramdas Athavale from Maharashtra.
But not a suave, not the suave Delhi Darbar.
Sure, but different, you know. This is the trading community. They look up to him. He's seen as a very, very effective political manager for the BJP in Delhi.
Correct.
Even though there are many who don't like him. They don't like his face for some reason.
His father, Chartilal Goyal, has been a speaker of the erstwhile Delhi Assembly.
Exactly.
So, you know, he's got some legacy to his being there.
Entrenched.
Yeah.
This is Ramdas Athavale,
सत्यनिष्ठा से
RPI.
न्याय करता
leader of the RPI.
मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के
I think this one is a very key induction.
Oh, absolutely. He's been cabinet minister for social welfare and transport employment guarantee between 90 to 95 in the Maharashtra cabinet. He's been in the Lok Sabha as well for 5 terms. He left the Congress NCP alliance in 2011. He's seen as a very strong Dalit face. Does this have any resonance, Sharad Pradhan, in Uttar Pradesh?
सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति
Well, as I said earlier, you know, these kind of actions do not have resonance in other states. He will definitely make difference to the Dalit vote in Maharashtra, but that's not where the action is taking place right now. And UP, I don't think it will make any difference at all, because here the Dalit vote is substantial part is of course with Mayawati, and some bit of the Dalit vote continues to stick on to the Congress for whatever reason. So Athavale, the surname will not make any difference. First of all, the Dalits of UP will have to be told that he is also a Dalit. So you know, these are things, these signals, they send signals to the location, the territory, geographical territory, where people understand what the surname
My
means.
only little bit of difference with Sharad Pradhan ji is that Athavale is actually one of the more remembered and known names. So while it may not have a direct ring, remember Dalit politics
Agreed.
is about Ambedkar, it's about Kashiram. Neither of them were UPites per se. So in a sense, he may not be the person who weans away the votes on the ground, but a very strong signal going out to Uttar Pradesh that Dalits are being included in the main line of Narendra Modi's cabinet, and that
And
message
remember,
will
while
not
we
come
look
across
at
the
him from
elections.
Maharashtra, the Shiv Sena is boycotting this function.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that this is only one of the 2 allies that's taking a vote. I think there's RPI and Apna Dal, which is now probably BJP. But I don't see Shiv Sena and any other ally induction.
I, Rajan Goai, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, that I will faithfully and conscientiously discharge my duties as a Minister of State for the Union.
The BJP MP
and
from
that I
Assam,
will do right
he
to
comes
all
from the
matters
constituency of
of
Nagaon.
people in
He's a
accordance
business
with the
person,
Constitution
social worker,
and the law,
agriculturalist. He's
without
been
fear
in the
or favor,
Lok Sabha now for
affection
4
or
terms. Representation from Assam. Remember, Sarbanda Sonowal was the country's sports minister. Before this, he's taken over as chief minister of Assam, and now Rajan Goen being brought in as the face from Assam.
brought under my
You know,
consideration.
there's interesting, Manisha Priyam, that there is such great geographical diversity. People would have thought that Uttarakhand, Punjab, UP, being the states which are going to the polls, those are the ones who would get the maximum number of berths. But there are 10 states being represented out of the 19 ministers who are being sworn in.
Yeah, immense geographical diversity. So in a sense, what I would see would be that there is a far greater focus on the caste composition of the ministers who are coming in, and in a sense the pan-India vote bank that the BJP would be leading forward. So not just the state elections, a demonstration with an effect towards 2019 as well. My only caveat to this would be that where are some of the Rajputs that I had hoped would be in the cabinet? Are they represented already, or will we see some people from Minister of State level being elevated to the cabinet rank? That may be another way of looking at the caste composition.
This is Anil Madhav Dhabe, BJP MP from Rajya Sabha. He comes from Ujjain in Madhya Pradesh. He has an MCom. He's been in the Rajya Sabha 3 times over.
He's a Narmada expert, I think.
मैं संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय
He's written multiple books in Hindi and is an active member of the Narmada River Conservation Project. That's his claim to fame, and that's one of the reasons why he's being brought in. So a lot of faces here, Nalini Singh, who are not necessarily known in the Delhi Darbar, but faces who the government believes have played important roles in their states, in their constituencies.
Don't forget that the Narmada also goes to Gujarat. And it was in fact an extremely important Sardar Sarovar with Madhya Pradesh, etc. So there is that familiarity with Anil Dave in the minds of the politicians there, also the voters. But you know, Rahul, when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at where is the Raghuram Rajan of this expansion.
Is that something you're disappointed with?
No, I'm just
the
saying,
fact that no Suresh Prabhu like character, Manohar Parrikar, there's no big ticket change in that
Where
sense.
is the actual brain? Where is the actual person who will change policies, who will kickstart the Achhe Din, which now have 2 years and 8 months left?
The Prime Minister believes that's overstated. He believes that if you've got a good team of bureaucrats, you've got the right vision, you can get those big changes done without bringing in people that the likes of Nalini Singh or Manisha Priyam would be enthused about.
No, I would say that, a lot of the Achhe Din...
So you bring in a Raghuram Rajan, then he has his own mind, he says his own things and doesn't always necessarily do your life. Sure, I agree with that entirely.
Rahul, what I see is that Prime Minister's Achhe Din is about implementation. So there is a Dharmendra Pradhan doing the Ujjwala Yojana, doing the LPGs, the mergers on the ground. If you see the Prime Minister's interview, he says, I want to see the change with the people. And that's not necessarily a feat at which technocrats are very good.
This is Purushottam Rupala. He's a BJP MP from Gujarat. He was born in Amreli in Gujarat. He's been minister multiple times in the Gujarat Assembly. He's been a member since 1995. He's been minister for Narmada, irrigation, water supply from 95. He's been cabinet minister for irrigation and water supply in 96. He's been cabinet minister of agriculture. So essentially one candidate out now from amongst those who could have been possible replacements for Anandiben Patel, if at all there was a replacement that was being sought.
Also, I think he's a Patidar, so Hardik Patel, etc.
Attempt to keep them happy.
Yeah, this would be really a very, very good acute induction to get
all three ministers from Gujarat will accompany Amit Shah to Gujarat. Amit Shah is going to Ahmedabad this evening. All of them will be accompanying him. We also know that immediately after this cabinet expansion gets over, there will be a cabinet meeting where Prime Minister Modi will be meeting his extended cabinet, welcoming all these new ministers. They of course will be exchanging greetings and just registering their presence in the cabinet. That's Purushottam Rupala from Gujarat.
So, do we mean that those who are being dropped, we will know?
This is MJ Akbar now. He's been minister in a Congress government, now becoming minister in a BJP government. I want to ask
All India record.
Nalini Singh, what you make of MJ Akbar's rehabilitation in the cabinet now in a Modi government?
I'm speechless, to tell you the truth.
Why is that?
Because, first of all, a journalist, so therefore you begin to, the limitations of journalists, and yet you see a journalist rising to the top in the Congress ministry and now in the BJP ministry. So I would say the first charitable thing comes to mind, which is that he must be completely brilliant at connecting with people. The uncharitable thing comes to mind is that he is a survivor of it at a very high level, at rarefied level, where oxygen, there isn't oxygen, there's ozone of a special nature. So, but let's look forward to what he's going to do.
He's also an articulate Muslim face. In a party like the BJP, he can hold his own when he travels to the Middle East. He's got immense connections there, and that is something the Prime Minister has been very keen on leveraging into.
Also Parliament.
I think really the point that you mentioned, MJ Akbar's forte at being able to accompany the Prime Minister. Really, he's not going to be the person who's ever going to overshadow the Prime Minister. So he's really, in a sense, the Prime Minister is also looking to fortify the PMO itself on certain key aspects And the MJ Akbar induction would really be a step in that direction. When he goes out to the African countries, to Middle Eastern nations, I would see MJ Akbar as somebody who would be a very strong aid to the Prime Minister and not somebody who would be eating up the limelight, so to say. So I think this would be a PMO strengthening of sorts.
This is Arjun Ram Meghwal, one of the MPs who comes on a cycle to Parliament, and that's something that the Prime Minister, in some way, it could be coincidence, it could be something that they've picked on. 3 MPs who come to Parliament on cycles, all 3 are becoming ministers.
But from Bikaner, Rajasthan, I'm not sure why that induction is being made.
Because he's a replacement for Nihal Chand Meghwal, I would imagine.
He comes from Bikaner, he's a SC, he was born in 1953, he's an MA LLB, he's an IAS officer as well. He's been in the national executive of the BJP since 2010. He's a member of the National Core Committee of the Scheduled Caste Morcha of the BJP. He spends 1 night a month sleeping under the moonlight to promote energy conservation. He does this in Bikaner. So he's been ticking all the right boxes.
What about Nalini is watching the lights by the night that are on? Yeah.
No, but remember, these are the ministers who are taking oath. As of now, there is no confirmation for when that list comes out of who gets what portfolio.
But
that's why the big surprises could be if there's a reshuffle of
But
sorts.
while he's signing, can we just raise the question of Yogi Adityanath? And you know, some names like that, there was Ram Madhav who was being mentioned. So we don't see them sitting on those chairs, do we?
No, not at all. They're not there. Yogi Adityanath turned down the offer. He was made an offer. He sees himself and his supporters see him as a chief ministerial face for Uttar Pradesh. He turned down that offer. So now he will take charge of 50 to 60 seats in Eastern UP.
So therefore, the fort of Gorakhpur is just so much more important than a chair in the cabinet.
बाबू ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता
जसवंत सिंह बाबोर
मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों को श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात अनुराग या देश के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति
Jaswant Singh Babur comes from Dahod in Gujarat. He's a tribal leader. He was born in 1966. He's an agriculturalist and is in animal husbandry. He's been a member of the Gujarat Legislative Assembly for 5 terms. He's been Minister for Food and Civil Supply in Gujarat. He's been Minister for Health and Family Welfare in Gujarat. He's been Minister for Forest and Environment in Gujarat. He's also been Minister for Tribal Development, Rural Development. So he's held a cross-section of portfolios, and in some senses ahead of the Gujarat polls of 2017, an important tribal face for the BJP. That's a big challenge, holding on to Gujarat. And as of now, while the Congress is flapping around uncertain of its strategy, the AAP is seeking to make some inroads, which works well for the BJP because the opposition vote then gets split both ways.
Remember, never write a party off. The Congress is a political party in Gujarat which has some hold still in the local panchayat level. Agreed. And that's something, don't write them off for that.
No, and the gap between the Congress and the BJP.
Tom-tomming its presence has none. Absolutely.
Dr. Mahendranath Pandey.
This is Mahendranath Pandey being brought in as a Brahman face from Uttar Pradesh.
To counter Satish Mishra.
He is the MP from Chandauli. He was born in 1957. He studied and he's got an MA in journalism and a PhD in Hindi. He's an agriculturalist. In the 1990s, he was Minister for State Housing and Rural Development. He's been Minister of State for Planning in the government of Uttar Pradesh. He's been Minister of State for Panchayati Raj with independent charge. Tapping into the Brahmins in UP, Manisha Prem, one of the key Modi's strategy. So far, while they were traditionally with the Congress, in some elections they've moved to the BSP. In the 2014 elections, they were firmly with the BJP, getting them on board, a big part of the BJP strategy.
Extremely critical. Don't look at it as a pan-UP phenomena. Look at it poised in the Purvanchal belt and you will realize that they've got Amar Mani Tripathi of the Samajwadi Party who they need to counter. And they're really, even though they don't admit, the BJP is actually fighting for that belt of power. So Yogi Adityanath plus a Brahmin combined could become, and Anupriya Patel could become deadly for the BJP in this belt if they get their caste equation right.
No, which is what they're doing. So you've got the OBCs taken care of, you've got the Dalits taken care of, you've got the Brahmins taken care of as well, and you've got Maurya who's the state BJP president. So all those appointments being made primarily with an eye on the entrenched caste
But
vote banks.
remember there's an election road ahead, and how they do in the election is going to determine the outcome, not just the mathematics of caste. That's the lesson that comes out from the Bihar elections.
मैं अजय टमटा ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा एवं निष्ठा रखूंगा। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा। मैं संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में
That's Ajay Tamta, the MP from Almora in Uttarakhand. This is a reserved seat for
Only reserved seat in Uttarakhand.
अनुराग या देश के
He was born in 1972.
And here an attempt by the BJP to project a new image for itself. Remember that party also had much to lose by way of its image in that state. The bringing in of Ajay Tamta is an attempt to recast the image of the BJP in Uttarakhand itself, a state that goes to polls very soon now.
He's been Minister of State in the government of Uttarakhand in 2007. In 2008, he was a cabinet minister in the government of Uttarakhand. He's been in the he's been in the Uttarakhand Legislative Assembly since 2007. And now being brought in another SC face. So a lot of emphasis on trying to tell the Dalits that they are enjoying a share of the power under the Modi Raj.
His body language shows great humility, which I think would be an extremely admirable attribute just now in the BJP.
Krishna Rao.
All of them are paying obeisance to Narendra Modi. Huh? What is that?
मैं कृष्णा राज ईश्वर की शपथ लेती हूँ कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगी। मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगी। मैं संघ राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगी।
This is the MP from Shahjahanpur, Krishna Raj. She has an MA in arts. She describes herself as a social worker. She's been member of the UP Legislative Assembly for 2 times.
Really, this area really the heart of Mayawati's own personal power.
So this is Western UP.
मुझे ज्ञात होगा उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जब कि ऐसे राज्य मंत्री के रूप में
She's also a Dalit.
Yeah.
So again, one more Dalit face, a high proportion of Dalit representation in this new cabinet expansion, especially with an eye on states where polls will be held like Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand.
Shri Mansukh L. Mandviya.
Mansukh Bhai Mandviya comes from Bharuch in Gujarat. He's been a member of the Gujarat Legislative Assembly since 1994. In 1998, he got elected to the 12th Lok Sabha. This is his 5th term.
मैं संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्य का श्रद्धापूर्वक और शुद्ध अंतःकरण से निर्वहन करूंगा तथा मैं भय या पक्षपात अनुराग या द्वेष के बिना सभी प्रकार के लोगों के प्रति संविधान और विधि के अनुसार मैं मनसुख लक्ष्मण भाई मांडविया ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूं कि जो विषय संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे राज्य मंत्री के रूप में अपने कर्तव्यों के सम्यक निर्वहन के लिए ऐसा करना अपेक्षित हो मैं प्रत्यक्ष अथवा अप्रत्यक्ष
The government's handout says that he spent a long time in Gujarat's agricultural sector. He's headed Gujarat Agro Industries Corporation. So that could be a possible indication of the ministry that he could get. He could be an MOS in agriculture given his past background, given also what the government is seeking to highlight around the candidature of Mansukh Bhai Mandavia.
श्रीमती अनुप्रिया पटेल.
This is Anupriya Patel, leader of the Apna Dal. She is fighting with her mother at this time for ownership of the Apna Dal. She wants to merge the Apna Dal with the BJP. The Amit Shah particularly thinks very highly of her organizational skills, sees in her potential as being a strong, prominent OBC leader for the BJP in Uttar Pradesh. Manish, can she live up? Because there are many naysayers who say she's overhyped.
No, she's not overhyped. Remember, she delivered for Mr. Narendra Modi in the Purvanchal region, which again I say is key. And remember, she is also from my own college, the Lady Shri Ram College. The two combination, deadly combination, I think she's going to deliver the most colourful induction in this ministry.
Her LSR antecedents are highlighted also in the handout that the release that the government has sent. How much of a difference, Sharath Pradhan, do you believe Anupriya Patel's presence will make?
Now, as far as the mother is concerned, now mother will be completely isolated as far as her inheritance of the party is concerned. She did manage to inherit the legacy of her father, Sonelal Patel, who founded the Apna Dal. But mind you, Apna Dal has its influence limited to a very small area, barely 3 districts of Uttar Pradesh, which means about 15 odd seats. But her being made a minister could also make some dent with Kurmis in other parts of the state as well, in the neighboring areas. So to that extent, definitely yes. And she's very, her LSR background gives her a better profile, and she is articulate. She is young, but time will tell whether she is able to make a dent in other section of the Kurmis. Patels form a very small section of the Kurmis in Uttar Pradesh.
C.R. Chaudhary.
This now is P. Chaudhary.
मैं C.R. चौधरी
C.R. Chaudhary is from Nagaur in Rajasthan. He's an MA in geography. He's been a civil servant.
सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा रखूंगा. मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूंगा. मैं संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में
Given the number of MPs coming in also from Rajasthan and becoming ministers, no state can particularly complain that they've been left out, or can they? I think Bihar was more than taken care of before the last reshuffle.
It's actually got 7. I was just going to raise this point. Bihar has 7 ministers.
No, but that was the hope of doing well in Bihar. And
but when we talk about, so the ministers being dropped, because you've got to prune about 6. So I wonder if Bihar is on that list, the chopping list.
Raj Singh, who could possibly, his name is amongst those who...
Swachh Bharat mission is something the Prime Minister would want to see performing. Ramkripal Yadav is hardly the minister who's seen as a doer in the sense that Dharmendra Pradhan is, for example. So one would really look out to some amount of performance. Radha Mohan Singh, I think his performance...
No, but he's also a hot favourite with the RSS. He comes from a very, very strong Sangh background. And a lot of people, when you speak to them in the Sangh, they say, उनको marketing नहीं आती, इसलिए आप लोगों को समझ में नहीं आता वो क्या करते हैं. They don't think that he's a non-performer. They think of him as being a very effective administrator who, unlike the likes of an Arun Jaitley, is not able to sell himself to the Delhi Darbar, and therefore nobody knows him.
You're talking about Arun Jaitley. I've noticed that each time now, the only smile was when Vijay Goyal or SS Ahluwalia were being sworn in. Otherwise, he's been, may I say, scowling.
Counter psyche there.
Yeah.
मैं पीपी चौधरी.
This is P.P. Chaudhary, the MP from Pali in Rajasthan, born on the 12th of July 1953, has an LLB. He's a senior advocate of the Supreme Court, again mentioned in particular by the government, highlighting how professionals have been brought in, because the government's mantra, at least the claim, is that they've got a team that's been strengthened with experience, expertise and energy. And P.P. Chaudhary is the first name that's mentioned, and it says that he's a senior Supreme Court advocate with 4 decades of experience in constitutional litigation. It's very keen on highlighting the professional antecedents and the credentials of these ministers.
जो विषय संघ के राज्य मंत्री के रूप में मेरे विचार के लिए लाया जाएगा अथवा मुझे ज्ञात होगा, उसे किसी व्यक्ति या व्यक्तियों को तब के सिवाय जबकि ऐसे राज्य मंत्री के रूप में
what must be going through the heads of all these ministers? I can tell you that for any other government, they'd know by now what's happening, but with this government, it's not necessary that even the ministers, forget the journalists, we're not even claiming that we know what the reshuffle is going to be or which portfolios are going where. And what's very interesting is that when I spoke to some of the ministers the last time round, and they told me that they had been told that they were getting a particular ministry. When that list came out, the ministries were completely different from what the ministers were saying they'd been told. So the ministers are confused. It's best for the journalists to say only Modi and Amit Shah know what's going on. Let's just wait for the official list to come out. No dramatic claims before that. And that's interesting, Nalini, in terms of how the Prime Minister likes to operate. Rajdeep Sardesai is joining us as well. Rajdeep, your sense so far on the body language, your sense on the seating arrangement, your sense also on the new ministers who've taken oath so far.
I'm not going to go into body language, Rahul, because body language can be awfully misleading. What I am looking forward to is to find out the exact portfolios that these ministers are given. I think that will give us a clearer sense about Mr. Modi's mind and his commitment that he has now made in public, that he wants to ensure that this cabinet expansion ensures greater efficiency in government. Remember, during his campaign of 2014, one of his slogans was minimum government, maximum governance. With this expansion, he cannot claim minimum government in terms of ministers. He is virtually in the same space that Dr. Singh was, and this despite the fact that he has a majority government. I think we need to appreciate that with 282 MPs, Mr. Modi didn't face the same pressures to accommodate various interest groups that Dr. Manmohan Singh did. This is a large council of ministers now. Now one would like to see whether he is able to bring the right people in the right places. I had mentioned earlier this morning that food and civil supplies, agriculture, rural development, some believe that these critical ministries in the agrarian sector have suffered in the last 2 years. And this is where Mr. Modi will need to focus a lot of attention. Small scale industries is another area where there are question marks that have been raised in the last couple of years. Can Mr. Modi do for agriculture what to some extent he has managed to do successfully with infrastructure? There's question marks over ministries like health and education as well. Has Mr. Modi done enough with social infrastructure in comparison to physical infrastructure? Can this expansion now be followed by a reshuffle which is based on merit? I think that is what one wants to see. How many people have actually been dropped and how many people have been accommodated in what key portfolios, Rahul, I think will determine the success or failure of this cabinet expansion.
One of the other very key things is that they've actually conducted a thorough performance review of each of the ministers, the work that they've done. The ministers have made presentations and therefore it's all being assessed. Now everyone's standing up for the national anthem. For a moment we'll stop our coverage to just listen into the national anthem and then we'll resume on the other side as you see these images of the new ministers who've just taken oath. So from Gujarat, you've had two Patels and one scheduled tribe leader who've now been made ministers of state. There is no knowing just yet when the list of who gets what portfolio. That's where the real political juice is. That's where you want to know, who's become stronger, who's become weaker, whose performance is being looked at favorably by the government. But that list not out yet. And from previous instances, we've seen, Rajdeep, it could be a while before that list comes out. It's not necessary that it will come out in a short while from now. There could be a long delay before the final list is put out by the government, Rajdeep.
That's right, and that as I keep saying, will really determine the efficiency and efficacy of this cabinet expansion. there has been a lot of secrecy, and you can expect that secrecy over portfolios, but I don't expect it to take too long. I think Mr. Modi has been planning on this for a while. As you rightly said, he's gone through a performance review. So I expect by this evening we will have greater clarity on who's got which portfolio. As I said, the key for me, is there going to be any change in education and health? Will Arun Jaitley be divested of information and broadcasting? Will there be any changes in those key portfolios of agriculture, food and civil supplies, consumer affairs, as well as small scale industries and rural affairs? Is Mr. Modi actually going to drop at least half a dozen ministers, as we are being told? Will that number increase by the evening? I think these are the critical questions that we must ask before we evaluate Mr. Modi's exercise. For now, he could well claim that he has created a representative cabinet. It's diverse, it has experience, it has state leaders who've been 4-time, 5-time MPs, so there is no shortage of experience. The question is there still a talent deficit? And what worries me is that why hasn't Mr. Modi at least tried to bring in some kind of a Nandan Nilekani kind of technocratic figure from the outside? Last time round he tried it with Suresh Prabhu to some extent, made him a party member. Could he have done something similar maybe, if only to give a sense to dare I say the middle classes, that politics and cabinets are not limited to those who win elections, but can also involve people from the talent from the outside. Yeah, I might have liked him to do that, but as we have seen, that is easier said than done in the politics of today.
Yeah, but I also find on the technocrat point that maybe he gets that talent within the PMO. Remember, Rajdeep, there is a view that technocrats, even Mr. Manmohan Singh, for example, he was seen as someone who was with Mr. Chandrasekhar, then with PV Narasimha Rao. He survived the weather and he came with Sonia Gandhi. Here's a Narendra Modi who looks at people who are loyal to him. He wouldn't want the technocrat taking up that space. Maybe he gets technocrats in his back room, which is a very expanded PMO, and doesn't really want them there in the cabinet, taking the political space, so to say. So Narendra Modi, a political leader, a political man, and for him politics first, and that's what the cabinet looks like. On technocrats itself, he does have a view, and party politics in general does have a view at this point of time. Take the technocrats for what they have, expertise, but don't call them party people.
But for 30 years, there hasn't been a more powerful prime minister, politically more powerful prime minister, backed by 282 of his own party. So I would imagine that he would not be hesitant, or he would not be reluctant to induct people, technocrats, and then be able to rein them in, because he's got this enormous power. So I do not see why India should be deprived of the expertise.
Their thinking is different. Their thinking is that these are people who've been associated with the party for 2 or 3 decades. Yeah. You have to reward those people. You want to bring in a technocrat or a babu, get him to come in as an advisor. Do the work that you need him to, benefit from his expertise. Why make him a minister? Because he's not going to go back and get elected.
Rahul, then my question to you is
where are they?
Is BJP more important, or is India more important?
Okay, Rajdeep has a point. Where is the Sam Pitroda equivalent? Where is the Sam Pitroda equivalent? We saw what happened with Raghuram Rajan. Look at the quality of appointments that have been made to major institutions. Whether it's an FTII with a Gajendra Chauhan, a Chetan Chauhan in NIFT, please look at the quality of appointments that have been made to institutions. Don't make them cabinet ministers. Let's make them advisors, some of them with cabinet rank. But let's at least induct some talent which will, in a sense, energize government. Why should government be the sole prerogative of people who are politicians? So I have not understood this. And once you have that kind of majority, at least in certain key ministries that require that energy, you should, you should be willing to experiment. So I don't see why the Prime Minister is diffident at times of bringing in at least 1 or 2 people who will send out the message, particularly after the Raghuram Rajan episode, that I am committed not just to people who are loyal to me, but by people who are actually have credibility outside just the government space.
So let me ask the question that was a little bit when Rajdeep was talking. Is India more important, or is BJP more important? Or is NDA more important? That question will now have to be answered. It's 2 years, 8 months left for this answer. We expect that a person who's got such a powerful majority will say India is more important, and therefore will not pull any punches and will bring in the people who are required. You're saying rewarding. How about rewarding us? How about rewarding the farmers who are committing suicide? or the kid.
No, but you're assuming, fundamental to your argument is
No,
the
I'm
assumption that a technocrat will be more effective than a minister who's being brought
Rahul,
in, than
what
an
I'm
MP
saying
who's being made a minister.
Without any argument, this is just a debate. I'm saying today also we have large swaths of the country who are extremely deprived. So we are now looking out, those who are privileged like us are looking out for those
what
who can
we'll
make
do
the
right
change.
now is slip into a break. When we come back, a bit of crystal gazing with all these political pundits here. We'll get them to look at the ministers who've been brought in, also look at who potentially gets what, or at least what our pundits would like to see the Prime Minister do. He may of course do completely the opposite of what the pundits want him to, and he often takes great pride in showing the world that the pundits have no idea about what's going on in his mind. But we'll get them to play this game and say, okay, so if you were Prime Minister Modi, just for a moment hypothetically, what kind of cards will you shuffle with the team that you now have? That and more when we come back on the other side of a quick break. Stay with us.